Nick is so near and dear to my heart because he's crushing it. And he is somebody that overcame a lot at the beginning to have his biggest month ever. And what he has done and what he has built up to has been phenomenal. So, guys, get your notepads out. This is going to be something that I think is going to hit home with a lot of you, especially if you're a new agent or you're somebody who hasn't quite met your goals yet, or you're looking for reasons to improve, or maybe you've had a little rejection and you're thinking, like, I'm kind of discouraged. I don't really know what to do. Get your notepads out, guys, because what Nick is going to teach us tonight is absolutely, awesome. So, Nick, tell us real quick, kind of your backstory. What were you doing before this? How did you find us? What's the deal?
Yeah, so first I was just a normal college kid. I played college baseball up in a small junior college up in Illinois for 2 years. Came back home, worked at another company, like a salary employee, called Backyard Breaks. We did sports cars and sports memorabilia on live stream kind of thing. And then my dad, he was in the insurance business at another company. That's how I kind of got into it. I got my license almost about it's been like a little more than a year ago. Started at that insurance company, was there for about maybe 3.5 months. Was fresh into, sales, never did it before. I kind of just got like thrown into the fire. Had my dad's support, but I didn't really like learn much. I was just kind of having to figure everything out on my own. So, and then I was like, man, like I remember right after Halloween, I was at my friend's house. I was like, man, like I was sitting there, I got to figure it out. Like this isn't working. I'm just staying in the same way. I'm paying $150 just to be in the office I was in every day, and I wasn't making any money, just banging my head against the wall. And I was like, man, like I got to do something. So, my mom actually, she's one of Marissa's friends. That's why I got into it. And my mom was like, hey, this girl Marissa, she's one of my friends. She does, insurance, same kind of thing. So we got in contact, and yeah, it was pretty easy process just moving forward.
Yeah, it's so crazy, Nick, because I actually met your mom when you were just starting at the other company. And she was like, "Oh, you're in insurance. My son is in insurance." And I was like, "What company does it work for?" We won't say the name, but I was like, "Oh." And I made a joke and I was like, "Well, call me if that company doesn't work out because he'll want to come over here." And she was like, "Okay,
Yep.
I'll." And then a couple months later, she was like, "I actually do want you to call him because, this could be a better opportunity." So it was crazy how that worked out. But Nick, real quick, without saying the name of that company, just, kind of generic, what would you say is like the differences, right? They're an IMO as well. They have carriers as well. They're a brokerage. But what would you say like the main difference between there and like FFL was for you?
Yeah, so for me, just being someone brand new, there I kind of just had to figure everything out on my own. Once I came here, like there was like, a couple days of training, like the resources and ways to get better were, it was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like how could you not be successful? And I never was like around any of that stuff. So it was like totally new to me having to like, sitting in trainings for a couple days and like everyone on Zoom, like a bunch of people like super supportive, wanting to reach their hand out and, help me, even though I was just some normal, 21-year-old kid at the time who was just trying to like, be great, I just asked a lot of questions and everyone was super helpful. So I would say the resources, the people are very, very supportive and family oriented, I would say. And then, yeah, just like, yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah, so the mentorship. I remember you telling me that it was like, oh, they just throw these leads at me and tell me to dial them, but I don't really know what to do. Right. So
Yeah.
like more hands-on training, it sounds like.
Yeah. Like I remember my first day I walked in there, I like came in with my stuff and I was like, oh, okay, like nice. Like, what do I do? And then they're like, here's like a script, like a packet. I'm like, okay. I'm like, where do I get leads? Like I literally walked in there, I had zero clue. I had my laptop. I was like, okay, like I don't even know what to do. Like no one's even like come up to me. Like, I was like, all right. I just had to ask like all the people that were there just kind of what to do, and they kind of helped me out a little bit. But yeah, it was tough, just like pretty much walking in there, just not really knowing what to do.
Yeah, I love that. So talk about your first couple weeks with us, dialing in the office. I remember Dom was there, AJ was there. They were just getting started. Talk about that experience for you.
Yeah, so I remember being in there right off the bat. I love Dom, AJ, Thomas. Like we were like the core four that started together, and they were, super cool. Ethan, obviously my boy, was in there too, helping us out, and I would just drill him with questions. I'm sure I felt so bad but I didn't even care. I needed to learn something and I needed to learn it quick. And they were selling like a little bit here and there and they were getting better and better. I was just kind of like not really selling, kind of selling here and there. I was just, asking them a bunch of questions. They're super supportive, wanting to help, even though they didn't have to. Um, and yeah, I appreciate them a lot.
Yeah. Well, you didn't. I want to get even more specific. You didn't make your first sale with us until probably 2 weeks in, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it
And
was pretty crazy.
you
Like
were
I
mad.
came,
You were frustrated. You were discouraged.
oh yeah,
I remember because I was in the office and we were getting to a point where I was like, Dom would help and it was just like, you went back and forth between do I do virtual, do I go in the home? And I want to hit on that for a second because I remember you being discouraged because the guys were making sales, you were dialing your butt off, you were in there, earlier than everybody else and you were kind of going back and forth. Because honestly, Nick, a lot of agents get to that point where it's like if it's not automatic satisfaction and they don't make a sale like in their first day or their first, 2 days, they want to quit because they're so discouraged. So how did you get past that? Like what made you want to just keep going and understand like this is going to work for me?
yeah. Well, I remember, I started to get really frustrated when I was doing insurance for like a little bit, a couple months, and then I came here and I wasn't selling anything, and these guys like were just selling, and they just got here. I was like, dude, like, how is that even possible? Um, but I really like. I remember one time I was gonna go in home, like me and you discussed that. I went home and I was just sitting in my room. I was like, man, like I dropped out of college and like I don't really have any other option. I just was like in the corner. I was like, man, like it's either I make this work or I don't even know what I'm gonna do, to be honest. I was so like I remember going on ZipRecruiter, just like seeing like sports management stuff. I was like, I need to figure something out. Like I had to talk with my parents and they're like I was never thinking of like quitting, but I was like, man, like just a bunch of thoughts were going through my head. And I just went in with a completely clear mindset, just really calm. I remember the next day I had some, in-person appointments scheduled because I didn't really know what to do. Me and you were talking about that. And then I came in really early that morning, went, to the gym in the morning, had a great start to the day, come in and I was ready to have an amazing day. Like first like three people I called, I was like, boom, 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 just helped three of them in a row. And I was like, man, that's kind of crazy. And you were there too. And I was like, man, like I just, helped three families, all three in a row, back to back to back. Like that's kind of crazy. That's like the most I've ever made in like a week at my old place. So, it was pretty crazy. Once I like was able to do that, I was like, wow, like I can do this. I didn't have the confidence that I could because I was like I wasn't as fast with like, talking to the people and having a response and, not being slow and like an application or whatever. And something just clicked where I was like, okay, like I kind of know what I can do now and I can replicate that over and over again. Like I think I should be fine. So right after I closed those three, I was like, okay, this is real. Like this is serious.
Yeah. So what would kind of your advice be? Because, and Nick, I feel like you don't even give yourself enough credit, but like we were all there. Dom was there. I remember that's when Tori was still working with us and everyone was like, and Nicole had come in the office. I remember she was trying to help you with mortgage protection and you were just so flustered. Like you were just like, I've been here 2 weeks. Everyone else is making sales. Like this sucks. And we were like, Nick, just calm down. But we're just like, just keep trying, just keep trying. And you did. What would you say? Because there are other agents, like everyone in the chat right now is like, I remember Nick every day unmuting on dials and just trying to get better, trying to get better. What would you say? Like there are agents right now that are discouraged because they haven't made a sale in their first day, or maybe they've been dialing for a week and it's not going their way. Like, what's your advice to them?
So I would say, I guess something that trained me not to ever give up was baseball and sports. Just because in baseball, if you go up to the plate out of 10 times, you get a hit three out of the 10 times. I mean, you're a Hall of Famer. Baseball, it's a very mental game. You're gonna fail a lot more than you succeed. And I've just always been a grinder, working hard, always trying to be like the first, in first place and just asking a lot of questions. And I think that for me, I was just like, man, like I don't have another option. This is my only option. I got like barely any money in my bank account. I need to, my famous thing is stay in the pocket, don't scramble. So, if you think about it in like a football terms, if you stay in the pocket, let your blockers and no line block for you, you'll find some wide receivers open, you'll get a touchdown. But if you, scramble outside the pocket, you're not so fast. unless you're maybe Lamar Jackson, then you'll get sacked. So I was always saying, like, stay in the pocket, work hard, just keep your head down, just keep asking a lot of questions, don't be complacent, and just always find ways to get better, even though, I didn't think I was getting better.
Yeah, and just keep showing up. Honestly, dude, you just kept showing up. And every single day you just kept coming to the office. And now, how many people you think are in the Boca office? 30? And you outsold them all, 30K this month, right?
Yeah.
That's huge. All final expense, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, well, you should be proud of yourself. So talk to us about your schedule, right? So talk to us about how many hours you actually putting into this thing, because I think a lot of times people misconstrue the hours that it actually takes to do really well here.
Yeah, so I usually wake up around, give or take like 7 a.m., go to the gym, work out, get to the office by, recently I've been coming in around like 9:15. Usually I try and get there around like 8:45, 9. You get situated, go through my emails, things like that. Go through some appointments, and pretty much I'm dialing right when I get to the office until about like 7 p.m. So we could say pretty much like 9:15 to 7 p.m. and usually take a break for like 30 minutes for lunch around 12:30 or 1, and I'm pretty much dialing the whole time. I'm super locked in. I don't really like wander unless I'm gonna get water or bathroom, but that's pretty much it. Like just
Yeah.
super locked in, calling a bunch of people.
So a lot of times people, if they don't want to do those kind of hours, right? So you're in the office 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., 5 days a week, 6 days a week?
Yeah, usually 5 days a week, and then Saturday, usually call my appointments and put in Saturday, from my house, give or take around from like maybe 10 to 2, 10 to 1, just a little something. Call some people, leads just come in, just contact them immediately once I come in, see if we can, make something happen. If not, book appointments for, the week next.
Yeah. Well, and Nick, I want to ask you too, because obviously you're in your 20s, things come up, right? And you want to go do stuff, and there's life, and it's happening, and you got money now because you made 30K last month and everything. How do you stay disciplined, right? A lot of times people they get that satisfaction, and then it's like, oh, let me take a month off. Why, you mean you still come to the office? You were there today. I saw you there today, and you had already like by the time I got there, you already closed 2 sales. So how do you have that mindset of like, I just, I got to keep going even though things are going right for me now?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm just never satisfied. I'm really, really hard on myself. And even though I did, 30K last month, like, I want to do 35K this month, I always want to do better than I did the last month. I'm always, trying to be first. I don't want to be last or in the middle of the pack. Just like if you're running with a team, even warming up or conditioning, like I always want to be, that guy in first place. I don't want to be the guy in the middle of the pack. Just pretty much just being very competitive. I wanted to be the best, continuing to ask a lot of questions to the guys around me because there's always, ways to learn. You're never, perfect. So I would just say just wanting more, never, I want to be on that stage. That's what pushes me. I want to be on that stage, Hall of Fame, and I'm starting to, grow my team a little bit too. So just having that balance of consistently presenting the opportunity when I can, even if I'm going to get lunch or, just talking to some friends and stuff like that, getting involved in the business and continuing to help families. I want to be
Yeah.
on stage.
So do you think having that office culture also helps with get the accountability and now you're number one, so you got to keep the other guys from being number one this month? Does that help too?
Yeah, 100%. It definitely forces you, because you fall back, oh, you did 30K and then you only did 5K this month. Like that's, I just like, I wouldn't really, I don't want that to happen. And I wouldn't want to be that guy like, oh, it was like a, one time kind of thing, but definitely as a new agent being in the office, even when it was me, Dom, AJ, and Thomas, just a bunch of new guys pretty much trying to figure it out ourselves, being in the office and asking a lot of questions with everyone else, listening, from me listening on Zoom in the beginning and then listening to the guys that I work with definitely helps a lot. Just pretty much was transitioning from not talking as much to listening more because sometimes I like to talk. So yeah, just really listening, asking a lot of questions, and never thinking you're done learning.
Yeah, I love that. And guys, I want to make that suggestion too, right? So I know like you guys are like, oh, Marissa talks about dials all the time. Or if you don't have an office, like you guys can create that culture for yourself. Like find a run buddy, find someone, ask your manager, get on Zoom with them. Like we have live dials every single day. And I do think a lot of what has helped Nick grow so much was being in that office culture of like everyone's selling and we go in every day and we'll see you at 9. Like find those accountability partners. Sometimes your accountability is a Zoom dial room. Sometimes your accountability is, maybe if you have a chat with other agents or people that you know, if you need me to be your accountability partner and bark at you every day so you get up and make sales, whatever it is, like that does help a lot. And I do think, Nick, as much as like, you've done it yourself, those guys have been pushing you. Like those guys have been in the office helping you. And they have guys in the office, they have their leaderboard, right? Of who's done the most this day, who's done the most this day. And so it is competitive, but competitive in a good way. And I think
Yep.
that's helped you a ton. So Nick, talk about what leads are you running? So a lot of time you're just doing straight final expense, right?
Yep. Straight final expense veteran leads.
Okay, so guys, this is 30K final expense. So this isn't IULs yet. This isn't mortgage protection. This is just straight final expense. Nick, do you think that final expense leads are the best place for a new agent to start?
Absolutely. For me, when I first came in the business, I was doing mortgage protection. And I remember when I first started here, I was like, wow, um, I'll just do mortgage protection. I was already doing it. I kind of like understand it. So I decided to do mortgage protection. And then I fell into final expense. I was like, wow, okay, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just a lot easier. The people you're dealing with are easier. I'm a very patient person. I don't really care if someone talks my ear off as long as I can help them out. That's all that I really care about. But, I feel like for me, it's just the people that are older and the people that want final expense, it's easier to build value with them just because, you know, I mean, respectfully, their time's like kind of coming to an end and you need to like get this in place for them. That way, if something were to happen, then their family isn't left with any burden. So I feel like, just if you ask a lot of questions, final expense is great.
Yeah, I love that. And so how much money do you spend on leads every week?
So I spend 1,050 a week on leads.
So 1,050, and so that's what, 4 grand a month?
Yeah.
So a little bit over 4 grand. 4 grand a month, and you issued 30K.
Yeah.
So minus some other CRM expenses, right? If you're doing text messages or you have a dialer system or things like that. So
Not
I mean,
even.
you're netting, you're becoming profitable now, right?
Oh, very. Yeah.
So when you in the beginning of the business, when you were, because you've been working up to this, right? You were, 10K, 8K, 6K, 7K. What is really I mean, what honestly is the difference financially between 10K a month and 30K a month? You could be transparent.
Yeah, a lot. A lot. I remember I was like really frustrated in the beginning. I would sell like maybe 8K, 7K, 5K, 9K. Just it's pretty much you're in like a hamster wheel just with your expenses and going, chargebacks and everything like that. You're just pretty much like going in a big circle. And once you really hit over that like 15K mark, like you always say, then you start becoming profitable. But like 20K, if you're really hitting 20K, then like you're bringing in good money, especially if you just do a good job of building value and asking a lot of questions, you obviously um, prevent chargebacks from happening. So yeah, it's like a massive difference.
Yeah, and that's when you start to actually get to keep your money.
Oh yeah.
So guys, when Nick says that, I mean, if you think about it, you're gonna have a certain percentage of your business might fall off. You have your lead sources, and then, so that's where that 15, 20K mark really makes a difference. And Nick, now you're not stressed to buy leads. Because I remember in the past, you would sometimes be dialing old leads. Now you're getting leads consistently every week because you're not stressed about it.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely not scared. And, I think a big thing as well that's helped me out, even if a lead is months and months old, I'll still call it every day. If I have some notes, like last week, I sold a lead from May. It was like May 1st. Put in my notes, no answer, write the voicemail, never in contact. I call him up. Oh, hey, how's it going? Yeah, yada, 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 whatever. We went through it. I was able to help him out effective immediately. Boom. So it was just, if I didn't never called that, follow-ups are huge. Even if people are like, I need to think about it. Oh, call me this day, call me that day. They don't answer. They don't answer on appointment. Keep calling them. Like every day I go through all my new leads I get. call them multiple times at the same time throughout the day at different times. And then I'll go through my appointment sheet in my phone, and I'll go through all my appointments I had and booked, and I'll call them at those times. If I can hit on the same time, then I'll call them. If not, I'll call them in the morning, go through the new leads again, just pretty much going back and forth, old leads, new leads, things like that.
So you're staying really organized, right? If they say call me on Tuesday at 7, you're putting that in your calendar Tuesday at 7,
Yeah.
even if it's not a solid appointment yet.
Yeah. And if they say call me at Tuesday at 7, they don't answer Tuesday at 7, I'll call them Wednesday at 9:15 a.m. or try and schedule something then or close it. Like this guy kept going back and forth with me last week. Oh, I'm busy. Oh, this, oh, that. My wife's not here. She just needs to be here. I just kept continuing just to follow up with them, and I was able to get him and his wife a policy just from following up with both of them. So,
Yeah. I love that. And guys, that's honestly just a work ethic thing, right? Like a lot of times too, it's just not the, I love Nick, but he's not smarter than you guys. He's not better than you guys. He's just doing things that a lot of you aren't doing, right? Nick, do you ever call back people that hang up on you or like you get major objections and they tell you like screw off? Do you call them back?
yeah, I mean, I've had people that have, absolutely grilled me on the phone, and I've called them back, 2 times after they, told me what to do. And then I also called them the next day. And I've had people that have, kind of went off on me, and I've literally had people that, go whatever yourself. And I've closed them like 2 days later, I swear. I've literally had people that have cursed me out. I've had people that are never call me again. I never requested information. I don't want any life insurance, yada, yada, yada. And I'll wait a little bit, call them again at a different time, and I close them. I cannot even tell you how many times that I've closed people just from them telling me that they didn't want the information. So,
Yeah. So just keep at it.
yeah, just persistency is the key.
I love that. So you guys generate your own Facebook leads, but they're pretty similar to the veteran leads that Frank has on his, right? Virtual CRM has the same thing, guys. So I know some of you guys are asking about the vendor. They generate their own, but you could do it on virtual CRM. You could get Frank's veteran lead, same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty basic information. It's first name, last name, date of birth, state, branch, and that's pretty much it. Not even email, no address, no nothing. So I pretty much call them. I go through my script, and just give them the information that they requested.
Got it. Okay. Can we role play your opening script
Absolutely. Let's do it.
for the veteran leads?
100%.
Okay. All right, guys, have your notepads out. And you're gonna send us your script after this, right? So we can put on the website for anybody who wants to switch to vet leads, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So you call me.
Hi, Marissa.
Yeah.
Hi, how's it going, Marissa? This is Nick. Just getting back to you here at the Veterans Life Insurance. How you doing?
I'm doing good, but who are you, Nick?
Yeah, of course. I'm just one of the underwriters they had assigned to get this information back out to you here. Just to confirm, you had put your date of birth as February 2nd, 2002, correct?
Yeah, that's my birthday.
Perfect. And then as well, you had served in the Army?
Yeah, I served in the Army. How'd you know that?
Yeah, so this is about the form that you had just filled out on Facebook here. It actually came in last night at around 7 p.m. So, I mean, do you remember filling that out or not really?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I probably did.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not one of the sales guys. My job is just to get this information out to you here. We just specialize in putting protection in place for our veterans to either leave money behind for the family or to cover our final expenses. Is that what you were pretty much looking to do as well?
Yeah, I was looking for that, Nick, but now that you bring it up, I'm pretty sure the VA just covers that cost for me.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the VA, they only cover your plot, and they really only give you around 300 or 400 bucks toward the funeral. So that's why most veterans do tend to look into these types of programs, because it's day one coverage, as well as it's usually a lot more cheaper with the top A-rated carriers. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So they're not going to pay for my funeral then.
No.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And did you have any coverage in place currently or nothing yet?
No, I don't have anything.
No. Okay. And I see here that you're currently married. So if God forbid something were to happen to you, would your spouse be your beneficiary?
Yeah,
Perfect. Okay. And then what's their name, just so I'm not rude?
their name is Richard.
Richard. Okay. So if God forbid something were to happen to you, we're looking to protect Richard to make sure everything's taken care of for him, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. And were you looking for coverage for Richard as well, or just for yourself to leave behind for Richard?
I mean, well, I hope he's gonna leave something for me.
Okay. And did he have anything in place currently or nothing yet?
No, he doesn't have anything.
Nothing. Okay. So, I mean, if God forbid you were to pass away and everything were to be left with Richard, what would that look like for your family?
I mean, it wouldn't be good, Nick, because we thought the military was gonna pay for it, and you're telling me it's not.
Mm, yeah, of course. And do you have a mortgage on your house?
Yep,
Okay. And how much you having to pay for the month for the mortgage per month?
like $1,100.
Like 1,100 bucks. Okay. So, I mean, we do the math there, 1,100 times 12, about 13,000 for the mortgage per year. So if God forbid something were to happen to you, you'll still have to, obviously the banks are going to be forgiving to pay that mortgage, and obviously the final expenses you'll have to come out of pocket for that as well. And were you leaning more towards cremation or burial?
I think burial.
Burial, okay. So the reason I do ask is because the average burial nowadays is around 10 to 15,000. So for you, we just want to make sure that we can cover burial now as well as in the future with everything increasing in cost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but Nick, to be honest, Richard's not home right now. I mean, do we have to do this right now, or when are we gonna when's a better time we can get this done?
Yeah, so I mean, you still need coverage, right? You don't have any?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we can do here is why don't we get you taken care of first? That way you have the peace of mind knowing that your spouse, Richard, is going to be taken care of. And then we can then schedule an appointment at a later date, maybe in the evening when he gets home, to where we can look into some options for him as well. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. All right. And
Okay.
then
Nick, that was good. So you're one call closing everybody if you can, right?
yeah. If I can, if they're like, "Oh, I can't do it right now," then I'll be like, "All right, like no worries. When would be a better time to give you a call?" But my goal is really one call close and effective immediately. I don't want to post date it. I want everyone's policy to go into force immediately. I ask a lot of questions in the beginning, build a lot of value. Who's the beneficiary? Would it be difficult? Was your spouse looking for coverage? Okay, so just to make sure here, you were just looking into these programs just to make sure that if God forbid something were to happen to you, Richard has everything taken care of, correct? Yes. Okay. And then I'll be like, so my job is super simple here, Richard. um, I'll ask you a couple pretty basic medical questions to see if we can get you qualified for with all the 30 carriers that we do help our veterans with, which I'll then be able to present you some options. And you'll just let me know which one is best for you and most affordable. And then we'll then have to submit the application with the carrier to get us approved of that coverage. And they'll actually tell us on the spot that you're approved. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. Okay. And then I'll just go right into medical questions. So like so obviously I see here that you're only 35 years young, and how's your health? Are you a smoker?
No.
All right. And
So,
then,
so Nick, real quick, the one thing that I see that you do really well too, and just so you guys know, so we don't have to do the whole thing, but he just stays calm the whole time. Like no matter what I said, his tone doesn't change, right? So when I was like, "Do we have to do this right now?" He's like, "Well, let's just do it right now. We can worry about Richard later," right? When I was like, "Hey, well, isn't the military going to pay for that?" He's not. He's just like, "No, they're not." Straight up, "No, they're not." But his tone stayed the whole time. He didn't go up. He didn't go down. He's just like very matter of fact and just has an answer for everything, right? When I said I don't remember filling out the form, that's okay. I understand you filled it on Facebook. It said you were in the army. Does that ring a bell? Yeah. So very even keel, which is super important, right? Because a lot of times, like when we get emotional and we start to get frazzled, we either go up or we go down. And I think the tone is a huge deal for you. Like even right there when you're role playing it, your tone was steady the whole time.
yeah.
So that was killer. And then you try to one call close them. What if they absolutely can't do a one call close? How far out will you push the appointment? 24 hours, 48 hours?
Yeah, I would say like 2 to 3 days max. I mean, to be honest, I've had people where they're like, "Oh, I'm in the woods camping. Can you give me a call in a couple weeks?" Yeah, sure, Bob. I'll give you a call in a couple weeks. Have a good one. And then I'll just put them in my schedule, give them a call in 2 weeks, for like a random time. Like I've done that before, and I've called them, got back to them in a couple weeks, and I've closed them. Oh yeah, how's it going? I remember talking to you. And then I am able to help them out. So I would say usually 2 to 3 days max. If they're really like, oh yeah, give me a call in a month. Okay, all right, sounds good, John. I'll call you back in a month. Have a good one. I'll just call the next lead. Like I don't need to waste my time trying to one call close them if they're just really not buying in that minute, in that instant. So I just really am trying to identify the buyers right within the first couple minutes of the conversation. Hey, I know you said, you said you were just getting a call, someone else is calling you at the same time as we're speaking on the phone. Can I ask you a question real quick? Is this something that's like of importance and a priority to get enforced for your family or not really? No, not really, Nick. Okay, sounds good. Have a good one. I'll just go on to the next call. If it's not important to you, if it's not important to protect your family, then that's cool with me. I don't really care. I'll just call the next lead. Help, because there's a bunch of leads that need my help, and then they want me. They're relying on me to get the information out to them. Who knows, if I don't do that and I waste my time on someone else who's not a buyer and wants to think about it for 10 months, then someone else doesn't get coverage. That's on me.
Yeah, that's huge. So you just ask them straight up, is this important to you or not?
Yeah, just like if that's why I ask a bunch of those, like, hey, so just to confirm, I see here that you're married. So if God forbid something were to happen to you, I'm guessing your spouse would be your beneficiary. Yes or no? Perfect. And then what's their name? Just so I'm not rude. Okay, perfect. So we're just looking to protect your spouse here. John, God forbid something were to happen to you. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And would it be
So,
difficult? And then
so Nick, real quick, what if I say, well, I saw on the TV I could get coverage for $9.99 a month?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So those programs you usually see online, or you maybe get some mailers in the mail. Those are all 2-year waiting periods. So that means that you would have to wait 2 years for the policy to go into force while you're still paying on it, as well as they usually have increasing premiums sometimes. So these programs that we work with for our veterans, they're all level programs. That means the price never goes up, and it's day one coverage. The programs are effective immediately once you pay that first premium. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So guys, see how he acknowledges the objection. Like he's like, that's a great question. That makes sense. And then he goes into his explanation, right? He's not confrontational about it. He's not saying, that's a bunch of BS. He's like, that makes sense. That's a great question. And then he goes into the explanation, which is huge. So I love it.
No,
You're crushing it.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other, I mean, you're gonna drop the script for us. You got your lead. So anything that you can think of, like anything, any other advice to any agents that either are trying to get to that 30K mark, they're a new agent, something that, maybe we haven't talked about that you think really helps you, go from, where you were in the first 2 weeks, not making a sale and being really frustrated to now, you know, 30K a month.
Yeah, so definitely, being persistent, staying in the pocket, not scrambling, asking a lot of questions to the top producers. I was, right off the bat, I really wanted to, that's why I got close to Ethan, Gary, being with them. They're very high producers, they're very helpful. I want to be a high producer, and asking them questions. I don't want to ask questions to someone that does like 5K a month, respectfully. I want to ask questions to someone who's doing 30K a month, 40K a month, because they obviously know what to do, and how to really produce at a high level. But I would say really up with people is huge. Even if they say they're not interested one week, following up with them the next week, the next couple days, next month, follow up is huge. Keeping track of your appointments, not letting them go, following up with the appointments if they don't answer, call them at the same time the next day, then the next day at a different time the other day. And asking a lot of questions with the client on the phone, especially like if you're not in person, you have to build a lot of value and you want it to stay on the books. And a big reason why pretty much all my business has stayed on the books, like for a pretty long time now. I rarely get any chargebacks, is just because I build a lot of value within the first couple minutes of the conversation. I ask them questions on who they're looking to protect, why they're looking to protect, is it important to you, what would it look like if you had nothing in place, and then I can use that as fuel when they tell me, hey, I really need to think about it. I'm at banking now. I got to think about it. I need to wait for my wife. Like, hey, completely understand you want to think about it and wait till your wife gets home, but you told me that you didn't have any coverage in place, right? No, okay. And you also said that it would be difficult for your spouse if something were to happen to you next week, right?
So
Yeah,
you're
okay.
putting what you gathered in the beginning, you're putting them back on them in the end so you don't get the objections because they've already told you everything, right?
Yeah. So they've given me everything. They've given me social. I've gotten the beneficiaries. I've gotten would it be difficult or not. Is it a priority? And then, hey, I understand you need to think about it. We're looking to get this in place for your spouse here. So, I mean, when most veterans say they need to think about it, it's because it's either the price or the coverage amount. So, what would be the most concerning for you at this moment, holding you back? And then they're like, oh, the price. Hey, yeah, no worries. What we do with most people, we could actually start somewhere lower, get our foot in the door here with day one coverage. That way you have the peace of mind knowing that your spouse is going to be protected. That way I'm going to be your personal agent for life, and we can always add additional coverage down the line. Just now we need to get something in place for you to make sure, you have at least something taken care of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. And Nick, what I love too is you're saying we need to get something in place. You're not using the we need to see if you get approved.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying
Yeah,
we need to get something
yeah,
in place, which means you're getting the coverage. We're not seeing if you can get approved and then we're going to be wishy-washy on it.
100%. Like, for example, I mean, last week I had this guy, he had um, kidney disease, he was messed up, and he had no coverage. His, daughter was going to be the beneficiary, and we're going through this, and he's like, hey, and I can, why don't, like, we need to get you this in place, we need to get you approved, we need to get the packets out to you and everything like that. And he was like, and oh, and I can like cancel it, right, if I have to. And I said, hey, can I ask you something? And he was like, yeah. I was like, so you told me this and that. So with that being said, why would you, like, I pretty much told him, I literally said, I was like, right when he said, well, I can cancel that, right? At any time. I said, why would you do that? Just like that. I just said, why would you do that? He was like, and he was kind of like caught off guard a little bit. And he was like, well, I gotta think about it. And I was like, hey man, can I be honest with you? If you were to look on your own with someone who's not licensed, someone who does not have their fingerprints taken with the Department of Financial Services, someone who works with all the carriers, you're not going to be getting the best coverage you can possibly get. And you're just going to be throwing thousands of dollars down the drain. So I would love to help you out if this is serious. But if you're not serious and you want to cancel it, I'm just really not your guy.
So
And
you're not even going to write them if they ask that.
no, I was like, if they give me one red flag of, hey, I'm going to cancel this, say, hey, I can't afford it. Hey, if you can't afford it, you think the 10,000 for the 145 is the best one for you. No worries. I'm not a salesperson. I want what's best for you here. Why don't we start with maybe like 7,000? It's
So you're
only
down
100
closing.
bucks. Yeah. So I'll lower it a little bit, get our foot in the door with coverage, better than nothing. And if you say I can cancel this right at any time, no, man, like you can't cancel it. Why'd you do that? If you're gonna cancel it, I mean, be my guest, but it would be a disservice for me to just let you walk off here with no coverage, not without knowing the repercussions of not having anything. Because
Yeah.
I've had so many phone calls. If the other half were to ask, why didn't you get any coverage? Sorry, man, he just didn't want to go through with it. He wasn't serious about it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just
Yeah.
very transparent with them, and I think that like helps a lot.
Well, I love it. Well, Nick, thank you so much, guys. We'll get Nick's script posted on our website too. We'll put it on there so you guys can download it if you want to start doing some vet leads. I agree. Love mortgage protection. Love IULs. We're going to talk about those in the future, but I do think, guys, final expense is very, very simple, very easy. You can literally copy word for word. Nick, you talked to us about determination, pushing through, being persistent, right? Sometimes you're going to have bad weeks. You're going to have times where it takes a long time and you get where you need to get to because you keep going. And also a lot of objections, right? So we went over a lot of objections and how he overcomes them, asking questions in his presentation. So Nick, thank you so much. You literally crushed it. I'm very proud of you. Like I said, I was very excited for this call and just very excited to see what you continue to do and keep putting those Boca boys in their place. So I'm excited for you. We'll see. We'll see what
Sounds
happens
good. Thanks
next
so
month.
much.
Dom's smiling like he's going to challenge you or something. So I'm excited. So I'm proud of you. Thanks so much, Nick. All right, guys, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Let's get back on the phones and make some sales and help some families. Talk soon, guys.